Night windows glow like islands in a dark sea. Somewhere, a woman lies awake, the blue light of her phone bathing her face. She types, "I'm fine," though her chest says otherwise. She scrolls past warnings, promises, and the face she can't stop thinking about. A quiet current inside her pulls harder than logic, older than words, coaxing her toward the same kind of story again. Connect, soothe, heal, redeem. She swears it's a choice. It feels like gravity. What if there is one instinct almost no one admits, shaping who she loves, who she saves, and what she sacrifices to make it work? What if Jung named the hidden force that turns kindness into a compulsion and longing into a mission? What if the very moment she tries to prove she's immune is the moment it tightens its grip? 3 mysteries. Jung described a feminine principle in the psyche that can either rescue a life or quietly devour it. A forgotten case shows how a brilliant woman mistook this instinct for destiny. Modern research reveals why empathy can masquerade as freedom while operating like a beautiful trap. Just when you think you know how this ends, Jung discovered something even more disturbing. The instinct grows stronger in the dark, especially when we pretend it isn't there. The meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Jung is telling us that love is not a spa treatment, it's a laboratory. When 2 people meet, something volatile can ignite. If the mix is healthy, both grow. If the mix is lopsided, one person becomes the beaker, the burner, and the cleanup crew. That is not transformation. That is overwork disguised as devotion. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, there love is lacking. This exposes the secret engine of rescuing. The impulse can feel like pure care, but hidden beneath it may be a bid for control. If I fix you, I become necessary. Real love does not tighten its grip. It meets the other as they are and invites mutual responsibility. No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Jung's warning is clear. To rise into steady love, you must descend into your own underworld. Name your fear of abandonment, your hunger to be chosen, your need to be the healer. Skip that descent, and the rescuing instinct rules from the shadows. Here is the unsettling truth. The more you deny your unmet needs, the more you will call compulsion love, and the more it will claim you. In the early years of Jung's practice, a patient will call the listener arrived, brilliant, composed, and endlessly understanding. She was drawn to men who carried storms inside them. With each new relationship came a confession in a dim kitchen or a parked car, the addiction, the rage, the vanishing acts. The listener became a lighthouse, taking notes, tracking triggers, mapping cycles like a cartographer of pain. The more she learned, the more essential she felt. What she did not notice was how quickly her own needs evaporated. She stopped painting, stopped sleeping, stopped speaking in the first person. When a breakup finally landed, she called it failure, not relief. But Jung discovered something even more disturbing.
The first role she learned in childhood was the household mediator, translating between an explosive parent and a silent one. Love became repair, safety became usefulness. Her adult romances were not accidents, they were remakes of a familiar script. Today, attachment science shows how anxious patterns fuse caretaking with protest. If I anticipate every need, you cannot leave. Research on highly sensitive people reveals a heightened response to subtle emotional shifts, a gift that can turn into chronic overfunctioning. Neurobiology reminds us that bonding hormones reward soothing behavior, even when reciprocity is missing. Culturally, women are often praised for selflessness and punished for boundaries, which quietly trains Eros to flow outward while the self runs dry. Compassion becomes currency, endurance becomes identity. But Jung discovered something even more disturbing. The better you are at empathy, the easier it is to rationalize imbalance as destiny.
Types of rescue Eros include the healer's mirror, pulled to wounded charisma and defined by being the one who understands. The peacekeeper, allergic to conflict and quick to repair to avoid abandonment. The mother partner, nurturing beyond consent and confusing care with control. The alchemist, who loves potential more than the person. Stages of escalation begin with spark, the intimate confession that lights the fuse. Then mission, where indispensability feels like intimacy. Merger, where routines orbit their storms. Martyr's logic, the mantra of almost there. Collapse, the burnout or betrayal. And finally, return, the old story of I failed, or the new one of I awakened. Jung's medicine is not to amputate instinct, but to bring it to consciousness. Begin with radical naming. Say out loud which archetype is active. Practice active imagination, speaking to the inner figure and asking what it protects. Do shadow work by reclaiming the needs you outsourced to rescuing others. Establish ritual boundaries, such as a pause before promising help and a written inventory of your own needs. Cultivate discernment, using irritation and exhaustion as data. Build a community that mirrors reciprocity, so Eros is celebrated and contained. Failed integration looks like the endless project. She meets the brooding artist, assumes the role, and loses herself under the banner of devotion. Years pass, and nothing alchemizes but her exhaustion. Successful integration looks quieter. She feels the same pull and names it. She dates slowly, states needs early, and measures reciprocity rather than chemistry. When asked to fix a crisis she did not create, she says, I believe in you, and I cannot be your plan. He rises to meet her, or he does not. Either way, she remains whole. But Jung discovered something even more disturbing. At first, healthy love can feel like loss because the high of rescuing fades. What replaces it is steadier, less cinematic, and more real. Here is the quiet revolution Jung offers. The moment you stop calling the rescuing impulse your destiny, it becomes your doorway.
You don't have to kill your tenderness to be free. You only have to place it in the light and ask it to serve truth instead of fear. Eros does not vanish when you set boundaries. It deepens. It learns to love without bargaining, to care without disappearing, to offer warmth without becoming the firewood. Transformation begins with the sentence you speak to yourself in the mirror. I choose reciprocity over intensity. From there, the smallest choices become sacred. You pause before saying yes. You listen to the ache in your body and treat it as guidance, not an obstacle. You ask not only what do they need, but what do I need to remain whole? You stop auditioning for the role of savior and start practicing the role of partner. The difference feels subtle at first, like a slight change in wind. Then one day you notice it. You are no longer chasing storms to prove your strength. You are choosing weather that lets your life grow. Hope does not arrive as a grand rescue. It arrives as proportion. It's the friend who mirrors you back to yourself, the therapist who names the pattern, the evening you spend alone without calling it loneliness. It's the moment someone loves you without demanding a miracle, and you let them. The compulsion loosens, the spell thins, and in that clearing, your original gift returns. Sensitive, powerful, luminous, no longer a net cast over others, but a light that steadies your own path. This is Jung's promise. When consciousness holds your instinct, love stops consuming you and starts completing you.
If you recognize yourself in this story, know this: nothing is wrong with your heart. Your sensitivity is not a flaw to be hidden. It is a refined instrument that simply needs tuning. You were never meant to be a hospital for other people's wounds. You were meant to be a home for your own soul, and to share that home with those who can meet you at the door with equal hands. Take a breath with me and ask yourself one honest question. Where in your life are you calling rescue love? If you set one boundary this week, what small, concrete action would prove to your nervous system that you are safe without overgiving? Write it down. Practice it out loud. Let your body feel the truth of it. If this journey resonates, subscribe and stay close. Here we name the patterns, translate the shadows, and learn the language of healthy love, one clear sentence at a time. Your presence matters. Your comments and reflections shape what we explore next. For the next episode, prepare to meet the archetype Jung feared in modern relationships, the charming figure who wears empathy like a mask, wins trust quickly, and feeds on your need to be understood. It isn't who you think, and it hides in plain sight. We will unmask it together, and you will leave with tools sharp enough to protect your brightest light.